fellow Toastmasters, and most wonderful guests. First off, I would like to declare unconditionally that I love accents. Accents of all kinds, no matter if they're regional, foreign, light, strong, thick, heavy, I love them all. The reason I love accents is because I love to do two things. And that is visit foreign countries and eat the foods of foreign countries. The problem is that I don't like to travel. The traveling part, I can do without the traveling. So whenever I encounter a person with a foreign accent, and it doesn't matter if it's Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, Chinese, Indian, as soon as I hear the rhythms, the pitch of their language in the language that we share in English, it takes me back to an experience I had either visiting that foreign country or eating the food of that foreign country in a restaurant here in New York, or perhaps it's a country that I would like to visit, and I had to get a preview of that without having to leave the comforts of my environment. The other reason that I like accents is because the person with that accent is obviously from another part of the world. It could be the other side of the world. And I get to interact with them and hear their viewpoint, their different viewpoint on the same thing that we have. And that's interesting to me because it stimulates my mind, provides diversity in my thinking. The other side of that is that people with accents can sometimes be difficult to understand. And you've probably run into this problem, so when you're calling a customer service center, you're probably your bank or your credit card. You pick up the phone and the other person on the line is probably on the other side of the world, but the connection is bad, it's static, and he starts speaking, and perhaps they have a foreign accent and they're speaking English. And you're trying to solve a problem rather quickly. It's difficult to understand, so it can be frustrating. By far the worst experience that I had with foreign accents was when I attended my first scientific conference. This was 10 years ago. I'm a scientist, so that's what we do, we attend conferences. And it was a great paper that I was really interested in, given by a researcher from China. As soon as I entered the room, it was packed. And the researcher started speaking in his heavily accented English. I was disappointed because I couldn't understand what he was saying because he had an accent. And I missed a great opportunity to absorb his work, his research, right from his own mouth. And I regret that to this day. Years later in grad school, I had an opportunity to take a course given by a well-respected and knowledgeable researcher in the pharmaceutical field. He had spent decades in that field. He had a heavy Indian accent. The day after the first class, my classmate said to me, "Oh, I'm done with this. I'm dropping this course. I can't take this guy's accent." And I was shocked. I was surprised because everybody knew this guy had knowledge and his experience. He would be able to provide us with insight on the subject matter. I decided to stick it through the end of the semester. And actually, I kind of regret it because I ended up getting a C in the class. I did learn some things, but it wasn't the professor's fault. I think it was more my fault. My inability to grasp the subject matter was a bit over my head. So from my own experience, I've learned that foreign accents, dealing with them, either from the listener's point of view or the speaker's point of view, can be a double-edged sword. And this issue was first brought to my attention, and the reason why I was inspired to speak about it was from an article in Toastmasters magazine from a year ago. The article is called "Accentuate the Beat." And in this article, the author says that we love accents. In fact, we love accents of all kinds, just like me. So long as the speaker is speaking in accordance with the sounds of English, or what we call the pitch and rhythms of English. So there's a condition to the love. It's selective. It goes on to explain that as someone who coaches business professionals on accent reduction, I know that the problem for most English foreign language speakers is not the fact that they have accents, rather it's simply that they have not yet trained their ear to hear the basic sound patterns of English. So the problem is accents. He's saying that accents is a problem that should either be reduced or even eliminated, which is all well and good if you're Penelope Cruz or Jackie Chan, and the movie production company that hired you is paying a speech coach to help you reduce your accent. But what about the regular people? What about the hardworking, poor immigrants all over this city that don't have the time, the resources, or the money to hire a speech coach? What are they to do? A great example of this is a woman that I know. She happens to be the hardest working, most trusted employee in my wife's Subway store. She's from Bangladesh, speaks with a heavy accent. This woman works full-time, supporting her family on her own, and every year during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, she cooks a huge meal for 100 friends and family. The day after, she brings us some of that meal. And so we get to enjoy delicious, authentic Bangladeshi cuisine right in the comfort of our home. Picture that, a culture, a country thousands of miles away on the other side of the world. You get to experience that. That's amazing to me. I appreciate people with accent because they have sacrificed so much. A great example of that sacrifice from my own life is my mother. She came to this country 40 years ago, worked hard as a housekeeper, never assimilated in the country. She sacrificed a lot. She retired after 25 years with rheumatoid arthritis, divorced, moved back to her native country of Colombia. And upon her return, her friends and family commented on that she had lost her regional Colombian accent. Could you imagine that? After all she sacrificed, her health, her emotional well-being, and now she lost something that she thought would be hers forever, gone forever. I admire so much these people with accent because they have sacrificed so much and worked so hard, and I admire them. I also admire the diversity that they bring. Diversity for me is the spark of creativity and innovation. Greatest example of that, I think the pinnacle of human achievement, is illustrated by the Japanese researcher named Dr. Yoshiyuki Santai. He came up with an invention, a robotic wearable suit called HAL, Hybrid Assistive Limb. This is a suit that you can wear, and he developed it for elderly patients that are bedridden. They can't walk on their own. They wear it, they put the suit on, and they can get up and walk on their own. Is that amazing? But it was just an idea that he developed on his own in Japan. He had to collaborate with a German company, Bayer, in order to commercialize this, to bring it out into the public. And next year, this collaboration is going to bring 10 of these suits to every hospital in Germany. That's commendable, that's amazing, and it's admirable. Diversity is the spark of innovation and creativity. What I'm asking you, what I'm urging you, what I'm advocating right now is when you hear an accent, no matter what accent a person has, don't be selective in what you think. Don't throw your hands up in frustration, roll your eyes and walk away. Instead, listen with awe and admiration to that person, what that person has to offer. Engage them. Ask them questions, because you'll be doing two things. You'll be training your own ear, and you'll be helping them. Because once you train your ear, you'll never again miss an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve yourself and your fellow humans. At this time, I'd like to end the speech portion and go into a brief question and answer period. If you agree with me, fine. If you disagree with me, please challenge me with questions. But if you agree with me, please share your story about your own experience with accents and people from foreign countries. Any comments? David, please.
As someone with an accent, I find that a good tip for helping others to understand is simply to slow down. What are some other things you can think of that might be useful to those with an accent?
This is a great challenging question that I've struggled with. I remember working when I was working in a museum, I encountered somebody from New England with this great regional accent that they have, and I was so amazed. I blurted out, "Oh, I love the way you talk. I love the way you say wicked smile." And the woman immediately shut down. Her face before was smiling, she just shut down. She was offended. So I'm looking for ways to improve my communication skills in that way, and how you bring out people. It's tough. It takes advanced communication skills, which is why I'm here at Toastmasters working on that. Phil, please.
You said you find the accent very stimulating. How does that work for you?
Reasons to Phil for asking a great question. Again, accents, they don't need to be foreign. They can be regional. Think about all over this country, the regional accents that we have. from Wisconsin, California, the southern accents. I love. Why do I find it stimulating to think about visiting that place where now you're the one who's out of place. You're the one who talks funny. And everybody there talks like that person. You put yourself in that situation. That was stimulating. Imagine the possibilities of that. You think they talk funny, but you go to where they live, you talk funny. Yes?
I think I have a strong Chinese English accent because I'm from China. And I tried to ask someone, what is the standard accent of English? Someone told me, in Central East America, Michigan, in that case. But for me, I think as long as people understand me, as long as I can express my idea, I think I don't really say that.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate to hear that. In the article that I read, I mean, talk about a person here who was from Brazil. People made fun of her because of her strong accent. She says some people would even mimic her. I always felt so embarrassed. So that's the double-edged sword I'm talking about. When you have people that are not receptive to your accent and just point out the differences, that's when you have a problem. And that's when it becomes a problem. And then people feel forced to try to change. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Osiris.
You said in your that you don't like to travel. How come?
Are you kidding me? Getting on a plane nowadays? Have you ever taken a plane, getting to the airport, going through security, the hassles, the delays? I went to Brazil and India this year, and it was a great experience. I was traveling business class, which helped. But sometimes when you're doing it for leisure, I can't afford to travel business class. It's a hassle, and you spend more time going to India. It's 14-hour, 15-hour flight. So that's the reason I want to travel. Thank you so much. I'd like to leave you with one thing. A poignant thought. The wave of the future is not the conquest of the world by a single dogmatic creed, but the liberation of the diverse energies of free nations and free men and women. John F. Kennedy. Mr. Toastmaster.